History is often stranger than fiction and filled with tales so bizarre, so utterly outlandish that they defy our belief. Today, let's delve deeper and uncover the oddest, most mind-boggling historical events that will leave you in awe. From the story of an unsinkable cat to a company holding the largest military of its time, brace yourselves for a roller coaster ride through the corridors of history. So hold tight on your chairs because these events might make you fall off your seats. Let's explore 10 weird historical events you won't believe happened. 1. Unsinkable Sam. Let's start with the Unsinkable Sam. Amidst the chaos of war-torn seas, there existed a feline legend known as Unsinkable Sam. This remarkable cat defied the odds, surviving not one, not two, but multiple shipwrecks during World War II. Unsinkable Sam, or Oscar's story, is quite remarkable. Oscar's journey began as a ship's cat aboard the German battleship Bismarck. When Bismarck was engaged in battle and subsequently sunk by the British ship HMS Cossack in May 1941, Oscar managed to survive the sinking and was found floating on a board by the crew of the HMS Cossack. He was taken in by the British sailors and given the name Oscar. The story takes an even more astounding turn when the HMS Cossack itself was torpedoed and sunk in October 1941. Miraculously, Oscar survived this second sinking and was once again rescued. His incredible streak of survival earned him the nickname Unsinkable Sam. Oscar's adventures didn't end there. He was then transferred to the aircraft carrier HMS Ark Royal. Unfortunately, this ship also faced misfortune and was torpedoed by a German U-boat in November 1941. Remarkably, Oscar survived yet again, making it through 3 ship sinkings during his wartime service. After the war, Oscar retired to live in a seaman's home in Belfast until his passing in 1955, living a long life despite the dangerous situations he had endured during the war. Was the cat unlucky for all the ships, as superstitious say, or was it all fate? 2. Replica of the city of Antioch. Next on the list is the replica of Antioch. Khosrau I, also known as Khosrau Anushirwan, was a prominent ruler of the Sasanian Empire from 531 to 579 CE. His conquest of Antioch in 540 CE was a significant event in his reign. After capturing Antioch, Khosrau decided to establish a new city nearby, intending to mimic and, in a way, surpass the glory of the original Antioch. This new city was called WWII Antioch Khusrau, or Khosrau made this city better than Antioch. It was constructed close to the ancient city of Antioch, a deliberate move to symbolize Khosrau's power and achievements. Antioch continued to face turmoil as it changed hands multiple times between the Byzantine Empire and the Sasanian Empire in the following years. Khosrau aimed to attract the citizens of the original Antioch to his newly constructed city. To achieve this, he resettled the remaining inhabitants of the conquered Antioch into the improved city of WWII Antioch Khusrau. The establishment of WWII Antioch Khusrau not only served as a display of Khosrau's prowess, but also reflected the Sasanian Empire's ambition to assert dominance in the region and display cultural influence through architectural emulation. 3. The Ugly Marathon. Moving back to the early 1900s, let us talk about the weirdest marathon. The 1904 Olympics in St. Louis witnessed an event so bizarre, it became a legendary tale in sports history: the Ugly Marathon. This marathon was a testament to the unpredictable nature of the sport. The race kicked off unconventionally, with participants facing grueling challenges from the start. Athletes braved scorching heat, inhaling dust clouds from the unpaved roads and encountering steep hills, which were only amplified by the erratic weather conditions. But the chaos didn't stop there. The race featured bizarre incidents, including one runner being chased off course by wild dogs and another succumbing to severe indigestion from consuming contaminated apples. Adding to the surreal atmosphere, some runners resorted to unconventional tactics. Fred Lors, one of the runners, dropped out after 9 miles due to exhaustion. He hitched a ride in a car for 11 miles before the vehicle broke down, and he resumed running, ultimately crossing the finish line. Thomas Hicks, an American runner, was leading the race but was severely dehydrated and exhausted. Several participants collapsed, and some were hospitalized after the race due to the extreme conditions and lack of proper medical attention. Thomas Hicks, despite being barely conscious and supported by his trainers for the last miles, crossed the finish line first. The 1904 Olympic Marathon remains a legendary event in Olympic history, not for its athletic excellence, but for its chaotic and challenging nature. 4. Mongolian Princess Khutulun. In the heart of the Mongolian steppes, a legendary figure emerged, challenging societal norms and setting unprecedented conditions for marriage. Princess Khutulun, a descendant of Genghis Khan. Princess Khutulun, a skilled warrior and daughter of the great Mongol leader Kaidu, held an extraordinary stance on marriage. In a society where suitors traditionally sought the hand of a woman through displays of wealth or power, Khutulun took matters into her own hands. Her condition for marriage was as unconventional as it was astounding. Any suitor seeking her hand had to defeat her in a wrestling match. But here's the catch: if they lost, they had to offer her horses. Historical records say that Princess Khutulun remained undefeated in countless matches, amassing a vast herd of horses and retaining her independence. Her portrayal in Netflix's Marco Polo series, played by Claudia Kim, introduced her story to a wider audience. 5. Wojtek, a real bear. In Soldier Wojtek's story is a truly unique and heartwarming tale from World War II. This Syrian brown bear became an honorary soldier in the Polish army and a beloved companion to the soldiers. Found as a cub by Polish soldiers in Iran, Wojtek was adopted by the 22nd Artillery Supply Company of the Polish II Corps. He quickly became a part of the unit, with soldiers taking care of him as if he were one of their own. He was fed, cared for, and even taught to perform various tasks by the soldiers, including lifting and moving heavy crates of ammunition, which earned him the status of an official soldier. To ensure Wojtek's passage with the soldiers to Europe, he was enlisted as a private in the Polish army. He was given a name, a rank, a paybook, and a serial number. His participation in transporting supplies, particularly heavy ammunition crates, became a famous and endearing part of his wartime contribution. After the war, when the soldiers were demobilized, Wojtek was placed in the Edinburgh Zoo in Scotland, where he lived until his passing at the age of 21 in 1963. 6. Survival of a stewardess. Thrice in maritime disasters, Violet Jessop was a stewardess whose life became entwined with some of the most notorious maritime disasters of her time. Violet had been aboard the Olympic sister ship to the Titanic and the Britannic when it was involved in a collision in 1911. Yet, she emerged unscathed once more. Violet's remarkable journey began with the ill-fated RMS Titanic. Against all odds, she survived the Titanic's tragic sinking in 1912, escaping aboard a lifeboat and witnessing the horrific events that unfolded that fateful night. But what makes Violet's story truly astonishing is not just her survival on the Titanic. Her life seemed destined to intersect with catastrophe. She was on board the Britannic when it sank in 1916 during World War I, yet she once again survived, this time aiding in the evacuation efforts. The odds of surviving just one maritime disaster are slim, but Violet Jessop's multiple escapes from tragedy defy belief. Violet's story remains a captivating enigma, a series of coincidences that defy explanation, reminding us of the unpredictability of life amidst the vast expanse of the sea. 7. A surgeon with a 300% mortality rate. In medical history stands a surgeon whose skill was unquestionable, yet whose mortality rate baffled the very essence of success. It was Robert Liston, a renowned surgeon of the 19th century, with an infamous distinction. Robert Liston was indeed a renowned surgeon in the 19th century, known for his exceptional speed and surgical skills. However, his remarkable speed in the operating room did lead to a tragic and infamous incident that resulted in multiple fatalities. During one surgery in which Liston was performing a leg amputation, his swift and hurried actions led to a series of unfortunate events. In his haste, he accidentally and tragically amputated 2 fingers of his assistant, who later died of gangrene due to the infection caused by the unclean instruments. As for the patient, the hurried procedure and the unclean environment likely contributed to the patient's death from subsequent infection or complications after the surgery. The third death occurred due to an unexpected consequence of Liston's rapid and forceful movements during the operation. A spectator, an elderly doctor watching from the gallery, was accidentally brushed by Liston's surgical blade. Believing he had been injured, the doctor was so shocked that he suffered a fatal heart attack, thus making his mortality rate 300% and making history. 8. Stopper of nuclear war, twice between the US and the USSR. In the heart of Cold War brinkmanship, amidst the shadow of nuclear devastation, one man's courageous decisions stood as a bulwark against cataclysmic destruction. Soviet Vice Admiral Vasily Arkhipov, an unsung hero in the nuclear deterrence. During the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962, the world teetered on the brink of nuclear war. The USS Randolph and the USS Beale surrounded the Soviet B-59 submarine, unaware it carried nuclear torpedoes. Within the B-59, conditions deteriorated rapidly. Soviet officers faced extreme heat, dwindling oxygen, and confusion due to radio silence from Moscow. Amidst this chaos, a critical decision fell upon Vasily Arkhipov. When the B-59 was under threat, Arkipov's pivotal stance prevented the launch of a nuclear torpedo. His veto against firing ensured averted catastrophe, despite intense pressure and the crew's desire to retaliate. But Arkipov's heroism didn't end there. Weeks earlier, during a separate incident, he played a crucial role in preventing the unauthorized launch of nuclear weapons by the Soviet Navy. Vasily Arkipov's bravery and level-headedness in the face of unimaginable tension prevented not one, but potentially two instances of nuclear war between the superpowers. 9. Harriet, the tortoise, that met Charles Darwin. Harriet the tortoise was a remarkable reptilian figure that gained international fame due to her astonishing longevity and her intriguing encounter with the renowned naturalist Charles Darwin. Born in the early 1830s on the Galapagos Islands, Harriet belonged to the species Giacolone nigra, commonly known as the Galapagos giant tortoise. In 1835, during his groundbreaking voyage on the HMS Beagle, Charles Darwin explored the Galapagos Islands, where he encountered and collected numerous specimens, including tortoises. Among these creatures was Harriet, then just a hatchling, whom Darwin included in his observations and studies of the unique fauna of the islands. Harriet's life took an incredible turn when she was brought to England as part of Darwin's scientific collection. She resided at Down House, Darwin's home, serving as one of the living souvenirs of his historic voyage. After Darwin's passing, Harriet became part of a collection that was eventually transferred to the Australia Zoo in Queensland, Australia, under the care of her caretaker, naturalist Steve Irwin. Harriet became an iconic resident of the zoo, captivating visitors with her storied history and remarkable age. Harriet's life spanned well over a century, making her one of the oldest known tortoises in recorded history. Unfortunately, she passed away in 2006 at an estimated age of 176, leaving behind an enduring legacy that intertwined with the scientific journey of one of history's most influential naturalists, Charles Darwin. 10. PepsiCo owned the world's sixth largest army. At one point in history, PepsiCo, the iconic soda company, boasted the sixth largest military force in the world. The seemingly improbable alliance between a soft drink manufacturer and the military might trace its origins back to the Cold War era, amidst global geopolitics and economic strategies. During the late 1950s, Pepsi ventured into the Soviet Union, pioneering a bold business strategy. In exchange for selling their beverage in the USSR, Pepsi secured an unconventional and strategic deal. However, the challenge arose when the Soviet Union lacked a currency that was widely accepted in international markets. To circumvent this issue, an unconventional barter deal was struck between PepsiCo and the Soviet Union. The USSR agreed to purchase Pepsi using goods they could offer, including submarines, military ships, and other commodities like vodka. At the peak of this trade deal, PepsiCo briefly owned a significant fleet of naval assets, which indeed ranked them as having one of the larger military forces in the world at that time. However, managing military assets was beyond the scope of PepsiCo's operations and expertise. Consequently, PepsiCo decided to sell the acquired naval vessels and submarines for scrap recycling. History, with its twists and turns, reminds us that the human experience is a mosaic of the inexplicable, the miraculous, and the utterly unexpected. Hope you enjoyed this video. Share it with your friends who would love to know about such weird historical events. Hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more such historical enigmas. Don't forget to hit the notification bell to keep quaking with us.